thumbnail, brand new description. Oh, this is Mello, yes? It looks like it anyway.
I do. Please state your name for the record. Bradley Post.
Oh, sorry, Post. Oh, so this is the fiance.
Where do you currently reside?
Hang on. Wasn't Post her fiance at the time he found her? Why is he in orange? Or did I read it wrong? He's in time. Hughes and Mello were previously charged. Yeah, Christina Parcell's fiance Bradley Post found her dead with the cuts and stab wounds. Why is he in orange? The fuck?
Greenville County Detention Center.
Right.
And have you been charged with a crime?
Yes.
Do you know the victim in this case, Christina Parcell?
Yes.
How do you know her?
We dated and were engaged on and off about 6 years.
And about when did y'all start dating?
2016.
And in 2016, where were y'all living?
I was living at my house in Rivoli Lane. She was living in her house or apartment. I don't remember what she had at the time.
Were you aware of a child custody dispute between Christina Parcell and John Mello?
Yes.
And was this custody dispute ongoing from 2016 up until 2021?
Oh
Yes.
my God.
And how were you involved?
Really?
In the child custody dispute?
I would listen to her talk. Sometimes I'd assist her to
That
go
poor
to
kid.
an attorney, whatever, but she'd just tell me about what it was.
Was it contentious?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Was there a lot going on in it?
Yes.
Was John Mello fighting very hard from his perspective?
Yes.
And Christina was fighting as well?
Yes.
So they were both slinging shit at
Now,
each
do you
other,
know
wasting their energy instead of
where
spending time with their
Christina
children.
was living on October 13th, 2021.
On Cambridge Drive.
Is that 122 Cambridge?
Yes.
And do you know who was living at that house at that time?
Yes.
Who was living there?
Her sister and her daughter and her.
Okay, what is her sister's name?
Tina.
Tina Parcell.
Yes.
I've got a sister called Tina.
And did you have the occasion to go to that house?
Yes.
And would Christina Parcell go to your house on Rivoli Lane?
Yes, sometimes.
And what kind of car was Christina driving at that time?
Lexus.
And who owned that car?
It was mine.
All right. Did you offer her to be able to drive that car?
Did
Yes.
she share it with Karen?
And did Christina Parcell have a cell phone?
Yes.
And did you assist her with the payments on that cell phone?
She had actually 2 cell phones. She had her own sometimes and mine also. Yes.
Did y'all communicate
Yes.
between those 2 phones?
Oh,
Do you know about when Christina
Oh.
moved to Cambridge?
I would have to think about it. I'm thinking maybe
so the two of them were in on the CSAM. Yeah. So him and his fiance, which is the victim, were fiddly diddling and recording.
April, May, somewhere in that time frame.
And did you have the occasion, as part of the child custody dispute, did Christina Parcell have to go to Italy?
Yes.
And do you know the circumstances surrounding
So
that?
have I got the facts right so far? I'm on the right train.
Would have to go to Italy to get her child? Can you tell the jury what your understanding of those circumstances were?
Mr. Mello kidnapped the daughter and left the country.
Do you know about when that was? If you can't remember, it's not.
It was probably 6 months before April, whatever that works out to be.
And as a result of that, what did Christina do when Aida moved to Italy with
That would be
John Mello?
November.
She found out where he was located. She contacted her congressman and the State Department. And
I'll
they-
catch up.
And did she attempt to obtain the return of Aida back to the United States?
Yes,
How did she do that?
through the State Department. I think it was the Hague Agreement.
And did Christina actually fly over to Italy?
Yes,
Do you know how many times?
twice.
And were you assisting her and helping her throughout this process?
What do you mean?
Financially, were you helping her?
Some, but she was receiving contributions and reimbursements from those organizations that help women like that.
Women obtain the return of their children
That's correct.
taken abroad.
Yes,
And so did you emotionally support her? Are you involved? Did she tell you what's going on?
yes,
And so do you remember did Christina ever get the return of her daughter?
yes.
Do you remember when that was?
April, May timeframe of the year.
Of 2021?
Yes,
I'm going to take you back to October 13th of 2021. Do you remember that day?
I do.
Can you tell us what you did that day starting in the morning?
Well, she had a job interview and
She is Christina Parcell?
yes, Christina Parcell had a job interview. Typically, when she had something critical, I would call and try to make sure she was up. And she was. And then when she was driving to the interview, she called me and we talked for a while. And then she was a couple minutes from her interview, and so she hung up.
As far as you know, did she go to that interview?
Yes,
And then when she was at that interview, what did you do?
generic things, common things around the house, had to clean up and do laundry and dishes and things like that.
And then did you ever attempt to
Little house
contact
bitch.
Christina?
Yes,
About when did you attempt to try and contact her?
I think it's around 11 o'clock plus or minus somewhere in there.
And so how did you do that?
By phone?
And were you successful?
No,
So as a result of your unsuccessful attempt to contact her, what'd you do?
I thought I should probably go over and see how she's doing.
And did you do that?
I did.
How did you get there?
I drove my car,
What kind of car did you drive?
Mercedes.
Is it red?
Yes,
When you drove there, where'd you park it?
in their driveway.
And when you arrived to 122 Canebrake, what did you do?
I went to the front door and rang the doorbell.
And were you able to enter?
No, she didn't answer.
So then what did you do?
I walked around the back door because frequently they'd leave the back door unlocked. And I walked into the back door.
The jury just saw the body camera of Chris Robinson. Did you see him go in the house?
See who?
Deputy Chris Robinson, the officer who you spoke to, the first person you spoke to on scene.
I may have, but I don't recall who he was because there were several people
And the
there.
door that he used, was it the door that you used to enter? Do you know what door he used?
I think they went to the front door. No, they might have went to the back door. That's right.
Is that the door that you?
Oh,
used
there's another
to-
backdoor
so you
reference.
did enter the
Okay.
house.
Right. Again, I'm not sure whether it was the front door or the back.
Where's
door.
the Walmart?
And so, what did you do when you walked inside the house?
It was dark, quiet, and so I walked back to, down the hallway to see if she was in the bathroom or the shower, and it was all dark. And I looked on the floor, and right at the entrance of the living room and off that hallway, there were petals from like a rose. And as I looked into the room, and I saw her on her back.
And
What's the
when you saw
significance
her,
of the rose petals? Anyone?
on her back, was there a lot of blood around the room?
Yes,
What did you do?
I walked over and yelled at her, and then called 911.
And when you called 911, what were you requesting?
I told them who I was and where I was, and we needed, I guess, an ambulance or and police assistance.
Oh.
At this time, on October 13th, did you know where John Mello was located?
I assumed he was in Italy.
All right, Mr. Post. I'm going to show you some envelopes. I'm going to refer you sort of back to around June of that same year, 2021. And I'm going to show you some envelopes and ask you if you recognize these envelopes. And I'm going to show you State's Exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, but why? Why?
I'll start with Exhibit 1.
What's the significance? I don't get it.
Yes.
Stand this way. I'm going to start with Exhibit 1. And do you recognize that document?
Yes.
Okay. Tell this jury about how you came in.
He's certainly not nuanced about that trial, that's for sure. Convincing me not telling that.
It was mailed to me.
Okay. And is your name on it?
Yes.
And the return address is a PO box. Whose PO box is
I'm
that?
trying to put
It's also
moisturizer on my
PO
feet.
box.
And when about was it mailed to you?
June 30th.
Did you receive other envelopes as well?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the jury about how that happened.
Be a little more specific.
So tell the jury you received an envelope. What did you do once you received it, and did you receive other envelopes?
I received the envelope. I opened it because it was very suspicious, with my return address. And I looked at it, and then I called my attorney
Why did you call your attorney?
because of the contents inside.
Can you explain? Can you describe the contents?
Yes, there were naked pictures of Miss Parcell. And if I remember right, there was a mailing list of which would kind of indicate that they were going to be sent also to those locations.
Oh,
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 2. Is that a similar envelope as well?
Yes.
And did you open all these envelopes?
No, I did not.
On State's Exhibit 2, what is the address that it was mailed to?
It was mailed to me, but my name was misspelled.
And then I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 3. Another envelope.
Yes.
And is it a similar envelope to the other ones that you received?
Yes.
And what is the address on that?
I'm 24. It's 25. It was my neighbor's.
So 25 is your neighbor's house.
Yes.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 4. You recognize that envelope?
Yes.
Where was that envelope?
It was sent to an establishment that I spent a lot of time with.
And what is the return address on there?
It's mine.
How did you obtain this one if it was sent to another establishment?
I had known since the very first one that others may be sent to people. And so since I knew the owner very well, I told him that he may be receiving an envelope with those dimensions. And I said, if he does, I'd appreciate a call back.
And State's Exhibit 5? Is that another envelope?
Yes.
And what is the address there?
My address.
And the return address is?
My P.O. box.
And State's Exhibit 6?
Yes.
What address is that one?
It's 22, which is another neighbor.
So after you received and collected all of these envelopes, what did you do with them?
I talked to my attorney and we set up a meeting.
All right. And after you talked to your attorney and set up a meeting, what did he suggest y'all do?
That we would meet with the county investigator, we did with Mr. Bevel, and also to talk to the post office since they were sent through the mail.
And did you in fact have that meeting with law enforcement?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of that meeting?
It was to give them what we call evidence, or the things that we were sent, and ask them what we should do next.
And were you in essence filing a complaint with law enforcement for a potential crime?
I don't understand the question.
Were you going to law enforcement in an effort to give them evidence of a potential crime?
Yes.
And when you're meeting with law enforcement, you say Detective Daniel Bevel
Mhm.
and Mike Nicholson with the Postal Inspector's Office. Did you tell them how you obtained these items?
Yes.
And did you discuss who you thought might send them?
Yes.
And who did you tell law enforcement that might send these photos or had possession of these photos?
We thought we knew who, of course, was behind them, but we weren't sure who sent them because he was supposedly out of the country.
So who did you tell the detectives had possession of those photos of Christina Parcell without any clothes on?
Mr. Mello?
That's John Mello,
Yes.
and that is who she was engaging in a child custody dispute with over Ida Mello?
Yes.
Now, finally, Mr. Post, I'm going to ask you: have you ever met Zachary Hughes?
No.
Have you ever talked to Zachary Hughes?
No.
Have you ever corresponded him in any way, shape, or form through email, social media, or the like?
No.
When was the first time you knew who Zachary Hughes was?
When my attorney sent a meeting to come see me, and he showed me a picture and said this person was arrested for the murder.
For the murder of Christina Parcell?
That's correct.
And a couple more questions, Mr. Post. You and Christina Parcell were engaged.
Yes,
Did you give her a diamond ring?
I did.
Was she wearing it that day on October 13th, 2021?
Yes.
And on that day, did you provide her or give her any flowers the day before or that day?
No,
Didn't give her any roses or anything like that, did you?
no.
Mr. Post, if you could just answer any questions that the defense counsel asked for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Post, just first question, you just mentioned that you were engaged and that she was wearing the ring. Do you remember telling law enforcement on the day this happened that she wasn't wearing a ring?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, you don't recall saying that?
No.
You remember, now you're saying you remember seeing her with the ring?
Yes.
Okay. You were also asked if you've been charged with a crime. It's actually 9 charges, is it not?
Correct.
You know, ask you about some background questions about yourself. So how old are you?
69,
What's your date of birth?
12856,
And where are you from?
Ohio,
When did you move to South Carolina?
July of, I think, 89.
What brought you to South Carolina?
Employment.
Are you married?
Was I married at the
Were you
time?
married?
Yes,
And how many times have you been married?
twice.
Do you have any children?
No,
How are you making a living in October of 2021?
I was retired, so it was from my investments and interest.
And also from selling a business?
Yes,
Okay. And did you make a lot of money from selling the business?
I don't know what your definition of a lot of money is.
What's your definition? I mean, did you have millions of dollars?
It's actually relevant, Your Honor.
All right, so when did you actually meet Christina Parcell?
I met her at her father's cigar shop. Gosh, I can't, 20 years prior.
And you actually dated for a period of time back then?
Again, that's the definition of date. Yes, we went to lunch or dinner, but it was only a couple of weeks and that was it.
And why did y'all break up at that time?
It just, it wasn't chemistry and we both had other things to do.
All right, and then you reconnected then in about 2016, isn't that right?
That's correct.
And you began dating again at that time?
Soon after.
Had you seen her much in the years between?
No.
Had you seen her at all?
Prior 10 years, no, I didn't even hear her name.
And then you began dating at this time. Now, Parcell, Ms. Parcell had a daughter at that time, is that right?
That's correct.
You've already testified her name was Aida. Is that right?
That's correct.
And how old was Aida when they began dating?
I don't know if I defined it when I dating, but when I saw her for the first time in 2016, I think she was 3.
And she gave up custody of Aida shortly after y'all started dating?
I don't know the exact date, but she did change the custody arrangement.
And you at this time did not know Aida's father, John Mello? Correct?
I knew of him because I was told, but no, prior to, no, I didn't.
Prior to meeting or getting back together with Ms. Parcell, you did not?
Correct.
know Mr. Mello. Okay. And did you break up during the period of time between 2016 and 2021?
Yes,
How many times did you say you broke up?
I really don't know many,
Okay, more than 5?
maybe not, somewhere, I never counted it.
And that was at least in part because of the turbulence that was caused by the custody battle between Ms. Parcell and John Mello?
It was part of it because it was becoming front and center of her life, so it affected a lot.
Okay, but you would continue to get back together. There was multiple times you broke up.
Eventually, yes.
Yep. And how long have you lived at 24 Rivoli Lane?
7, 8 years.
And you mentioned Ms. Parcell and Aida were living with her sister, Tina, on Canebrake Drive.
That's correct.
Where did they live before that?
There's an apartment off of Woodruff.
Okay. And the 3 lived together there too?
Yes.
And did you live with anyone at Rivoli Lane?
I don't understand the question.
Did anyone live with you at Rivoli Lane?
No.
They're alone. Was it? I guess there was one exception then when Ms. Parcell moved in with you from October 20 until Aida returned.
She didn't really move in. She would stay with me because she always had a house or an apartment that was hers.
When did you and Ms. Parcell get engaged?
I honestly don't remember.
And do you remember getting engaged at least the second time at the airport? Is that right?
That's correct.
And that was when Ms. Parcell returned with Aida.
That's correct.
And there was quite a group around there when you got engaged, right?
That's correct.
Who all was there?
Friends, her parents. Some of the friends I knew, some of the friends I didn't.
Okay. And this was the Greer Spartanburg Airport.
That's correct.
Okay. When Ms. Parcell returned from Italy with Aida.
Yes.
You mentioned letting Ms. Parcell use your Lexus. you would help her financially in other ways as well, right?
She used my car when hers was broken, or she needed to get one because she had her own car.
And you would pay her credit card bill sometimes?
Sometimes,
You actually gave her a credit card of your own?
yes, whenever she was buying for me and buying my groceries, yes.
Okay. Do you recall being able to have power of attorney over her bank account at the Bank of Petal address?
I don't recall giving power of attorney.
You don't recall having her power of attorney?
I don't recall it.
Okay. Now, you had a clone of her phone as well, correct?
That's correct.
So this phone that you had of hers would keep track of everything that was going on in her phone. In other words, it was an actual clone. You could see her incoming and outgoing emails, texts, and all of that. Is that not right?
No, it wasn't an exact clone. There were certain applications that we could see. It was mainly for her bills and to make sure that she got home at night.
Okay, but you mentioned also you would use an app called Life 360 to keep track of her too, right?
Yes, and that was on my phone.
Okay, so that was on your phone. That wasn't on the clone phone was for keeping track of what she was doing with her.
It might have been, but I don't remember if it was on that one. So like I said, she had two phones several times, hers and mine.
And what methods did you use to communicate back and forth by texting and that sort of?
Call, text, email.
Okay, do you remember what platform you would use to communicate?
At the end, we were using one called Signal, knowing that her future, with Mr. Mello, there was something going to happen. And so we used Signal, which we didn't use very long because it was very difficult to use.
And you mentioned that Ms. Parcell gave up custody of Ida a few months after y'all started dating,
Yes,
and she gave up custody to John Mello.
that's correct.
And then at some point, she changed her mind and decided she wanted custody, correct?
Yes.
And around how old was Ida when she did that?
When she turned over custody?
No, when I think you already told us that Ida was 3 or 4, I think 3 when she gave up custody.
Yes.
How old was Ida when she tried to get custody back?
I don't recall.
Was it years, months after she gave up custody?
I don't recall the time. I just remember the instances that caused her to do it.
Okay, and that was because of her contentious relationship with Mr. Mello.
Yes.
Now, when John Mello took Aida to Italy, testified somewhat about that already, but that was around October of 2020, correct?
I think so, but I'm
Does
not
that sound
sure.
right? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Does October 2020 sound right?
Yeah, I'd have to get a calendar and work backwards, but yeah.
And you mentioned that when she finally came back, it was in April
Yes,
of 21,
yes.
and they were in the Canebrake house at that point?
I think they were in the apartment and then moved to the Canebrake house almost immediately.
Okay. Now, you used the term kidnap. You are aware that John Mello was exonerated for that,
Afterwards,
right?
but not when he was there. He was found guilty by Italy, the state of Italy, and had to return her.
Okay, well, maybe we're using distinctions here, but he was found to have to give her over to Christina, but he wasn't found guilty of any crimes.
That I don't know.
He didn't go to jail,
That I don't know.
but when he came back here, you were aware that he was exonerated for taking Aida to Italy, right?
After Miss Parcell was dead, yes.
Okay, well, that has nothing to do with it. He was
Has
exonerated.
everything to do with it.
He was exonerated for having taken Aida to Italy because he had custody of Aida. Is that true?
Ask your question again.
No objections outside the scope of his knowledge.
This is what they were asking. So John Mello had custody of Aida when he took her to Italy.
Yes. That doesn't mean she could be taken out of the country without the mother knowing.
Okay, well, the court's exonerated him for that.
But you know that the Hague Agreement returned her.
Well, I'm talking about in South Carolina.
Mhm.
So for him taking Aida to Italy, since he had custody, he was exonerated for having taken her to Italy.
Eventually, yes.
Okay. And when he took her to Italy, you and Ms. Parcell spent some time trying to find where they were by looking at Facebook and Google and things like that. Is that right?
The context, what you're saying, I don't agree with, but yes, it was quickly found where he was.
Okay. Well, you can explain the answer. if you need to.
Mr. Mello likes to use Facebook, and he posted a picture of his daughter to kind of show off that he had her in Italy. In the background, there was a poster that showed where he was.
Okay. And then at that point is when Ms. Parcell took took all the steps that you talked about trying to get her to go back. Correct?
Correct.
And you did mention that you helped her with that.
When I could.
And you were helping pay her legal bills. And I know you had an agreement where she was
Yeah.
going to eventually pay you back, but you were giving her money for attorneys.
From times when she needed it because she was working.
Okay. She made 2 trips to Italy, isn't that right?
That's correct.
And the first time she was gone a couple of weeks,
I don't recall being that long, but it was more than a week.
and Lutina, her sister, went with her the first time.
Yes.
And then the second time she went
Well, it's not bad for a quick whip up thumbnail, is it?
back by herself.
Correct.
And that's when she returned from with Aida, and then you proposed to her.
Yes.
Okay, now, I want to ask you a little bit about the packages. So, State's Exhibit Number 1 is the one that's dated
That haircut,
30th of
straight
June,
away.
2021.
Gotta be sus.
That's the first one that you received, is that right?
I think so. I just have to look at the dates, but yes, the earliest.
Okay, this was mailed to your house. And there also were some that were mailed to other locations, but intended for you, is that right?
I don't think it was immediately, no. That was sent like a warning.
Okay, well, that was sent first, but where was the other one sent that was intended for you?
To my neighbors and to a place that I have frequented.
Okay, and that was cigar bar called Outlands?
Yes.
The contents of that have been described, you described as photographs of this person.
Yes.
And you said they were naked photographs. right?
Yes.
Do you recall any of the other materials that were in there?
I think there was a potential mailing list of where else it was being sent, like a threat.
And do you recall one of the pieces of paper that was sent to you being a website purportedly from her?
I don't recall it was there, but I was shown that it was.
Okay. And it's a website labeled Escort Advertising and Discussion?
Oh,
Did you not look at it at that time?
I don't recall, no.
Okay. Were you aware of all of this about her past when,
What are you referring to past? It was the pictures that Mr. Mello had taken that they were using.
we're talking about the website.
Same thing on the website. I was told it was the same
Really?
pictures.
That was what you were told.
That's what I was told.
Well, the website doesn't have pictures associated with it, right?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Did you read the contents of it?
No.
no, you can't.
Why did you not read the information that was in the package that was sent?
Because I knew it was a threat and he was constantly trying to separate us and get me to not assist her.
One moment, please. I mean, we approach this.
Oh, I can help.
Maybe please, we just want to have this one remain on speed. Yes, sir. No objection.
Now what are they doing? They're whispering. I can hear them. They're not being very quiet. You see, on a witness list.